instead of waiting for someone else to give you experience, why not go out and give yourself experience? Because you don't need a W-2 full-time job to finally break into tech. And you definitely don't need someone else to give you the job title software engineer before you really are one. Take today's guest, Will Ray, for example, who, while he's searching for his first full-time role in tech, has built a profitable freelancing business. So instead of endlessly iterating on a personal project that most likely no one will ever see, listen in to hear his journey on how he's building a resume full of real-world experience to differentiate himself from other applicants. So Will, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you, my friend. All right, so most people envision breaking into tech as getting that first full-time W-2 salaried role with the official title of software engineer. And by, in my opinion, indexing their success so much on that title and someone else giving them that title, they fall into this victim mentality of complaining that no one will hire them, blah, blah, blah. But you really don't need someone else to tell you that you've made it. You don't need someone else to define your success as finally breaking into tech. So that's why I want to bring you on. Because as a career transitioner, you're doing your own different approach with freelancing here. So I want to help unpack that journey here for folks that are kind of in that in-between state, not necessarily in that full-time role, but looking for ways to make themselves more attractive to recruiters and potential opportunities by giving themselves experience while they wait for somebody to formally give them experience. So first question to kick us off, how are you finding these opportunities, these freelancing opportunities? How did you get comfortable even putting yourself out there when you were, a rookie, so to speak, while you were still waiting for your first official role?
Yeah. So my prior career was in behavioral health, and the whole job was to manage teams, manage people, and to be comfortable with talking to people. So it's kind of come natural to me to be able to talk to people. But I will say the first few times that I did a cold call, I had to pace back and forth and hype myself up to get ready to make that phone call. My palms were sweating. I was super nervous. But I actually got the idea from my son. He has a little lawn mowing business, and he started using the Nextdoor app to get leads for his lawn mowing. And I kind of ran with that with the freelancing because, like you said, I couldn't really wait for a company to decide my value or wait for them to tell me that I'm a software developer. I put too much work into this, and I had to create my own opportunity when doing that. So I got on the Nextdoor app, and I just started being active on people's posts and comments. And I also use Google Maps too, and find businesses that don't have websites attached to their business. And then I just call them. Right. And it is scary. It's a scary process for sure.
Wow. So how long have you been doing this?
So probably about 6 months that I've been doing it this way. I had a few freelance clients before when I was initially learning, but it was mostly friends with businesses and things like that. But the actual cold calling, I'd say about 6 months, with the last 2 months being a little more serious.
And how many during that time, how many projects have you picked up?
So I'm averaging about one a week, but I'm also not,
1 a week? Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
but I'm also not putting a lot of effort into it because I am still looking for a job. I have a family to support. This isn't paying the bills, but it's definitely bringing in income, gaining experience, and making me more comfortable as a developer overall.
Yeah, and it's adding line items to your resume, because prior to this, when you were to apply to a full-time salary W-2 role, you're going to look like every other bootcamp grad, right? You have some project experience, you have your bootcamp that you went to, and then blank under the work experience section. Well, you have prior experience that's important and valuable. I don't want to undersell that, but it's not necessarily technically relative,
Right.
to the role you're applying to. But now you have so many projects that you can speak to.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely helps with that conversation piece when you're in an interview or you're talking to people. And then I'm learning that the skills that you gain from this with like B2B sales and other things like that, like these are other skills that I wasn't even thinking about that can elevate me as a developer to a company when I'm looking for a job, and other people as
Yeah,
well.
especially when you start kind of hyper focusing on specific niches in software engineering. So there is the stereotypical cave dweller developer who you'd never want to talk to. They never shower. You pay them with pizza that you slide under the door. There's that kind, sure, but there's also consulting. I started my career as a software consultant, and salesmanship and communication skills was definitely a big part of it. So it can help you control the type of focus you have, even in your job search, if sales is a big part of this.
And also
So
speaking to the client. So learning about project management with taking a vision, somebody talking about what they want and trying to replicate their vision in a website. And I'm learning that's difficult because you got to know what questions to ask or what they're looking for. And you got to pull that out of your clients. These are things I just never considered before. Now I'm like, oh, this is cool. I like doing this, right?
yeah, the funny thing about software engineering is that it's not like school where there's a known answer key and the teacher knows what that is and you're being compared relative to it. Like your client, sure, they have a few requirements that they have of you, but they typically have no idea what that might even look like. So that you're kind of co-creating the solution together. There is no like right answer, and it's very collaborative typically, even in a professional environment and not freelancing. So for each project being about, you say, one a week, what's the type of work that you're being asked to do? I imagine these aren't like huge projects you're picking up. So like, what kind of work are you picking up?
So mostly just building landing pages for businesses. That is the most, and it's people that don't have websites or they're scared of like, maybe I shouldn't say scared, but they're just intimidated with technology. It's an older generation. So the majority is I build them an HTML, CSS website, maybe add a little bit of JavaScript, make it look pretty, and I help them upload it and we're done. There are a
You
few
got
clients that have WordPress needs, or they want something that's plug and play that they can work with later. So I'll get on Wix, Squarespace, GoDaddy, and help them build that website out as well. But for the most part, my clientele focus is for the lawnmower down the street that needs a way for people to see his work and call him. And that's it.
Gotcha. And you're fulfilling a very important need there because I feel like what's the alternative? They're going to pay for like a big software development agency to come in and like spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for like a little landing page. Probably not. But for a small freelancer trying to kind of get his foot in the door, I mean, this is a great. You get the experience that you need. They get the simple little solution that they need, and it's a win-win.
For sure. For sure.
So talking about the outreach here, though, so most developers get into software engineering because they are excited about the technology and maybe they want to get out of customer-facing communication type roles. You mentioned yourself that you're a little timid there. I want to unpack a little bit more about like the Nextdoor and the Google Maps strategy that you're using to finding these folks. Uh, can you be a little bit more detailed in what that looks like besides clicking around random companies on Google Maps and then manually validating if they have a website or not? Like, what does that look like?
Well, look, first, let me be clear. I was terrified. I had to pace back and forth and hype myself up to make those first couple of calls. It is very scary. And anybody else getting ready to do it, it's okay to be scared. Just do it. It's going to be all right. Just letting you know, I remember I was terrified. My palms are sweating. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So what I do is I have a spreadsheet set up and I get on Google Maps and I start it out from where I live and I just expand further and farther. And if you look, some people have a Google business webpage. And if you go to it, it has like the phone number, contact information, and then it says website. If they have a website, you can click on the website. And then for one contract that I can think of off the top of my head, I found their website and I've seen issues with it. And I sent them a couple issues and said there was more and said I could make it better. For other ones, they don't have a website at all. So I just call them. I just call them and I put them in my spreadsheet and I put whether they answered, whether they didn't answer, if they said call back or whatever. There is a lot of work involved, but ideally that's it. Like I literally get on Google Maps, click on like every name I see for a small business in a neighborhood and I reach out to them.
Man, that works.
It takes a lot of work, but it does work. I've made money from it and I'm gaining experience.
Yeah,
It does take some footwork.
for sure. And when you're just starting out, I know there are two things that are typically pretty intimidating besides the actual technical delivery, but it's like determining your own pricing model. How do you decide that? And then also like legally, how do you protect yourself from I don't know, lawsuits or getting stuck in a contract where you're just infinitely supporting them, right, without getting paid? So how do you approach both of those scenarios?
So I haven't put a whole lot of thought into the legal process of this yet, if I'm being honest, because it's all pretty straightforward and simple. And I know that could come back to bite me in the butt later, but for now, I don't worry about it too much because I'm not doing nothing too crazy. I'm not, I'm putting a button on there for their customers to call. Um, what was the other question? Sorry.
Oh yeah, pricing. How do you know what your value is initially? Or do you intentionally undersell yourself because you're looking just for experience at this point? Okay, how do you determine how much to charge?
So initially, I kind of had the thought process of $100 an hour. Even though I didn't feel real confident in my technical skills, I had a really good career in behavioral health, and I'm confident in myself. So $100 an hour is kind of what I was figuring. Most websites for me, and that's why I got 250 for like something basic. At the time, I could do it, in 2.5 hours, have everything done between the call, making the website, putting their stuff up. It's gotten faster. So now my
Mhm.
hourly rates went up because I have more templates. I have more stuff to work with to copy and paste code. So my process is getting quicker and quicker. But I just kind of talked to other people and found out what they were charging and then tried to go a little bit lower to get myself that.
When you talk about talking to other people and getting that feedback, other developers, other freelancers, I assume,
Yeah.
how are you making those contacts too? Is this meetups? Is this like LinkedIn? Like, how are you developing those professional relationships?
I am very active on networking because I think that's the most important thing. So when I first started learning how to code, I started a YouTube channel, which has recently started to do fairly well. We're almost at 6,000 subscribers. I've met people through there. I've gotten connected with some veterans associations that have Slack groups. So like Operation Code, Vets Who Code. I also got connected with like just everybody I can. Like, so I'm a felon as well. I have a past, and I got connected with some services through that with underdog devs. And I get connected with a lot of like senior devs. Like I talk to a lot of people that work at Amazon, Microsoft. I don't think anybody's from Google yet, but all these different people, right? And I just bounce ideas off of them. And I'm not scared to ask for help. I'm not scared to ask questions. If I don't know something, I'm okay with saying, I don't know, please help.
Yeah, there's a funny phrase I heard the other day about like, well, I'm scared of doing X, Y, Z, or I'm anxious about A, B, C. Well, that's fine. Just do it scared. Do it scared. Do it anxious.
Right.
Like, okay, I don't care how you feel. Do it anyway, right? It needs to get done, and it'll get easier the more that you do it.
And that's the key too. It's just, even like with the cold calling it, you just got to do it. Like there's no easy way. You don't make it, you just got to do it. And as you do it, you get more and more comfortable. You start to perfect your pitch, right? Like my pitch is way better than it was 4 months ago, 2 months ago, right? It just gets better. And
Yes, a failure is part of the process. I mean, think of it like debugging an issue, right? You get a different error message. That's success, right? You're getting closer and closer to the right solution, and it's going to be similarly, except it's not the compiler rejecting your code submission. It's actually a human being rejecting your pitch. It can feel a little more personal, but really, I mean, it's just business. It's not personal.
you said it right there. That's the key, is that you have to know it isn't personal. It's just business. So I get lots of
Yeah,
no's. I get lots of people that ignore me. I get some people that drag me on for 2 weeks and never do anything. I don't take it to heart.
yeah,
I just
yeah,
tell them like, hey, when you're ready, I'm here, and that's it. The door's
yeah,
always open.
yeah. Absolutely. So at the beginning of this conversation, we talked about how freelancing is a means to an end. Maybe it's a long-term career, and a lot of people go that path. But at least for you at this current stage, it's all about building relevant work experience to help you stand out against other candidates. Because ideally, you would like a full-time salaried role as a software engineer, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So as you've been applying to full-time roles while you're doing this freelancing, have you seen a change in how recruiters are responding to you? Are your applications getting accepted at a higher rate? Are you getting further along in the interview process? Et cetera, et cetera. Is this freelancing approach even working for you in achieving that long-term goal?
I'm probably at about 1,200 applications. I've had maybe 3 interviews, and they all came from referrals. I was quickly shut down because of security clearance for one and college for the other two. I've not seen much traction with this. This is a sore spot at the moment. But I just keep trusting the process. I keep building my network and talking to people. And what I'm learning is a lot of people are willing to like put in referrals for me. They're willing to work with me, help
Yeah.
me with my resume. If I'm being honest, I haven't seen a difference at all.
Yeah.
Right.
There might be some other things at play there. You mentioned that you have a history as well with the law that might influence some of that perception. I'm unsure. I'm sure there's some discrimination there
Right.
that I would not be surprised to see. Um, these referrals, though, that you're able to get these are from folks that you knew historically before you started this journey, or these are folks that you've met through the network activities through some of this, freelancing and networking
A
work that you're
lot of
doing?
them I met on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm always supporting people when I can. I make videos, I post. I'm really active on there, and I'm open about my whole story, like my past with a criminal history. Like people told me not to share that, but it's part of my story, and I want people to know that we can overcome some of the greatest obstacles. But I say all that because all these people are new to me. Like most of them I didn't know 6 months ago. And they're like, hey, I really like your story. I like your attitude. I like your message. Let me know where I can put a referral in for you. And nothing's came of that yet, but I know that's given me a leg up because I have people willing to make warm intros and referrals from me. With enough time, eventually something will work out.
And that's why I feel like most new developers need is just an opportunity to explain their story. But the difficult part is that they're not even getting that first screening interview where they can really tell that story because their application is so weak to begin with, right? It's just personal projects or school projects. But you are building confidence not only in your own skill set, you're building confidence not only in the recruiter reviewing your profile with this freelancing projects, but you're building relationships of trust in your network, and you're getting these referrals, and who knows, where that may lead down the road. So for getting started, since this episode, I want to focus on this freelancing work here. If somebody were to be getting close to the end of their boot camp and they're thinking of taking a similar strategy as to you, what would be a good first step for them for, I'm thinking, resources, tools, websites, um,
Yeah.
for getting their foot in the door and getting comfortable going down your path?
Right. So HTML and CSS, start building the templates. So what I like to do is, even if I don't have a contract, I'm working on my next website right. That way it's ready to go when I do get the contract and I can just add the pictures to it. So while I was in boot camp and I did have free time because it was intense, but I would be building templates, right? About me sections, contacts, all these different things and having them ready to go. So I can just put people's pictures, colors, names in there. So if you're coming to the end of a boot camp, like you could start now, like you just need some HTML and
Mhm.
CSS, and with AI, you can get all kinds of help with that stuff to make your processing faster.
Is there a specific niche that you found that you're doing really good at focusing on and honing in on, or is it kind of just everybody
So I wouldn't say
right
a
now? Yeah.
niche, but I would say like the working man, because I've done landscaping and hard work. And like, I kind of resonate with a lot of like single man businesses, like a plumber or electrician or something like that. But that's it. Just kind of like the small business owner, I think is who I can resonate with the most. And I build the better rapport to.
Okay. And that's something that maybe was discovered organically as you're reaching out to folks, or is that an intentional decision
My,
going into
so
this?
my prior career was in behavioral health. I have no degree,
Mhm.
but I went from a hall monitor, if you will, to director of a multi-million-dollar facility with no degree or nothing. And I think that comes from me being vulnerable with people, and I can open up and it helps lower people's guard, and I'm able to build rapport with them better. So like, I know how
Mhm.
to make that joke and like kind of lower your guard to let me in, because when I show up, I'm like, hey, I've been through all these horrible things. Like, hey, how you doing? And I'm happy, like, and that lowers people's guard when you get vulnerable with them. And that
Mhm.
I think that plays to my advantage.
So I think what you said there is very powerful because I'm thinking of another story of a woman who attends the Dallas Software Developers Meetup, which I'm a co-organizer of, she's in a similar boat right now. She's doing a lot of freelancing and trying to get that first role. She is I don't know the exact formal job title, but she worked in a dentist office. She was not a dentist. I don't know if she was a receptionist or a hygienist or whatever. But all of her freelancing work seems to have been with small dental offices. And because she can speak the lingo, when she approaches these companies, they're a lot more willing to partner with her for these small websites because there's that level of trust, that shared language that they have. And I feel like for programming, half the difficulty you have is just understanding the acronyms and the business terminology and flows of whatever you're going to be working in. So I just want to say, depending on your previous work experience, finding that niche could be a valuable freelancing approach to think through.
For sure. I call
But
it
we,
the X
yeah.
factor.
Oh, X Factor. Okay, yeah. Does that stand for something, or is that just
Just like the,
sounds cool? Yeah.
what makes you different than everybody else, right? What is it? Right. For me,
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
overcoming and motivation and stuff, or my personality, whatever. What's your X factor?
That's a good way of putting it. So Will, before we wrap up here, I want to give you an opportunity to kind of share any closing thoughts for anything that you think would be a good foundation or a good starting point for those that are trying the freelance journey before we wrap up.
Yeah, just go at it. It's very intimidating. It's very scary, but you never know what can come from it. Like you said earlier, like this could become a business. This could be something different, but you just got to get started, right? You just have to take that first step, no matter how you feel.
Yeah. So instead of waiting for somebody else to give you that first job, waiting for somebody else to give you experience, give yourself experience.
Create your own opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, Will, thank you so much for coming on. It was a great conversation. We will see you around, my friend.
All right. Later. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Junior Jobs Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to like and subscribe, as that helps us reach more developers in need. And don't forget to check the show notes for details on today's sponsor and other job search services that we provide.